And in the wise words of a man called Buzzacino, a show by a man called Kev Baker, he says how it is, not a faker. The woo that he'll give us will give us the shivers, and on Freaky Fridays the tales will shake you. Yes, indeed. I think that's a splendid way to kick off today's stream of randomness. That is all I can call it. So, welcome back, everyone. I hope you're all doing well out there. Hope you're ready for another week of craziness ahead. Just in general, not to mention what we're going to be getting up to on the Kev Baker Show and right here on our stream. Now, I've cleared out a garage. It's going to be our little safe space. It's our underground bunker to escape the insanity of what's going on up there in the real world, right? So, no, I hope you're all doing well out there. We've got Hertz von Renthal. Mother, if you love me, burn my working clothes. Now, there's a random comment for a random stream. I see Wanda, Shawnee, Paul, racking one up. Good man. That's what I like to hear. We're placebo here. It's not good. But we've got Buzzacino, Jose Ramon Francis, One Polly, Wanda, Nothing As It Seems, Pierrot. I think I'm going to call you Poirot. I like a little bit of Poirot. Ooh la la. Buzz, yes, absolutely. You deserved to start the show today with a comment like that. Not my ego or anything talking at all. And I have to say, on a Freaky Friday, it's not Kev Baker, it's Kev, Scott, and Nacy. Definitely couldn't do it without the other guys. It's the chemistry that makes it work. Honestly, it doesn't work with just one of us. So definitely big shout out to the guys that helped me over there on Freaky Friday as well. It's as much their Freaky Friday, it's as much your Freaky Friday. It's something we all share in. And like Scotty Lopez always says, I think it's a right buzz being able to get the crowd going and then hopefully steer you over to our good friend Brent Thomas on the Paranormal Portal. And talking about that, we had somebody called Marky in the chat today. He had to go to work. But Marky said, got to miss this one, but we'll be listening tomorrow at work. Love this show. Jimmy Jeans, The Microcosm, and Paranormal Portal. Great stuff all round. Have a great evening, folks. And Marky, when I read that today, that really put a little smile on my face. Sometimes, just a nice little comment like that can be enough to lift the mood. And thank you for that. And thank you to everyone for being here. Let's see who was first. I think Jose Ramon Francis was first, but I might be wrong. The Wookiee. We've got Queen. Queen, it's good to see you again. Jocelyn. Marky Boy, I don't think he's here anymore. Wanda. Buzz. Queen. I think I've got mostly everyone. Probably a few new ones have sneaked in. The Wookiee. Leslie. Ash. Yes, and I seen Queen mentioning it. I see Ash mentioning it as well. What is it? It was a very scary movie back in the day, and it featured a clown. Oh, you knew it was going to happen at some point, folks. There's been a sighting, a random sighting of just a clown doing clowny things, wandering around, creeping people out. So yes, we've got an update on that today. We've got an update on some stories and some shows that we've done lately. Yes, spit it out, Kev. The Titanic. We've got a little story about that. We've done a Freaky Friday on that recently. And we've got a bit of UFO woo. We've got plenty to take a look at. We really, really do. So I want to thank you all for being here. I hope you've all had a good weekend. Before we get going, I'll see what people are saying, see if they've had a good weekend or not. Queen, I'm with you. I can't stand them either, and that's why it caught my attention today when I seen the headline. It's something that's always in the back of my mind when I go to these websites I go to for the woo, the paranormal, the strange type news. And yeah, anytime I see anything about the clowns coming back, I'll be here. I've got you covered. I've got you covered. You're probably better off not knowing because, the chances of us bumping into a random clown in a world of 7.5 billion is probably minuscule. However, makes for good woo. Always good, right? So what else we got in there? The archetype of the clowns and its link to the world of goblins, fairies, and entities is quite a subject. Yes, it is, Hertz von Renthal. Great comment. Great comment. It's the fake smile that they wear. Terrifying. Now, listen, unfortunately, I have to start with a little bit of bad news today. And for some time now, we've been diving down or taking a walkabout, more apt to put it, down the Australian rabbit holes. And I think for me personally, it's been some of the most interesting stuff I've come across in a long, long time. But on top of that, and more importantly, the people that we've come into contact with have become part of the KBS family. In fact, it's not just a KBS family anymore. It's really just a whole bunch of people coming back together, and the Australians have really been at the heart of that, especially over in Discord. We've got the KBS Discord server, and usually you can find Luna. Most nights after the show, there'll be a kind of open mic and people just hanging out, just talking, nothing serious, just people hanging. But besides Luna, we've also come into contact with somebody who I've spoke about before at length. The fact that I had a strange feeling the moment I came into contact with a man called Donny that there was something more going on here. I'm not here to get into all that woo today. I'm here to ask you to send some love and vibes down under to Donny. Like myself, he has had problems with a heart attack over the weekend. He's had a couple of stints put in. I've asked him if it's okay for me to tell you all because us men we're very proud and we're not really all that keen sometimes on hearing people talking about us and asking people to send some energy and send some love down Donny's way. Send prayers, whatever it is you do. I encourage you to do that right now because I was briefly typing with Donny earlier on. And yeah, he's in hospital. He's feeling absolutely horrendous, as he would do. But he's had the emergency operation. He's pulled through that, thankfully. And yes, unfortunately, a heart attack. And when you look at the world, this whole cardiac thing, it's quite obvious we're not living right. I think we can all see that. And especially when you start to look at how many people have got this kind of problem with the heart and stuff like that. So please, please, please send Donny some energy, some love, some intentions. Throw some prayers up. I'll be adding them to Bill Bean's prayer list next week, that's for sure. I know firsthand that these types of things help. I myself was where Donny was lying in hospital. And it's all good and well, people saying, yeah, we're going to send you love and energy and prayers. And it sounds like just words. But I can tell you, folks, there is something in that. And I took strength from it. And I hope we can send some strength down Donny's way because we need him. We need him more now than ever. So, Donny, from me to you, if when you do see this, please, please, please take your time getting well, brother. We're all going to be here waiting for you because you have definitely become one of our, I don't say this lightly, but you're almost like one of our elders. You know, if we are a digital tribe, I would happily put you up there as one of the elders, brother. So, from me to you, from all the times that we've walked together in the past as well, um, much love, man. Much love. Damn, I'm welling up. What's that all about? So, listen, I'm going to put on some tunes, get a drink of coffee, get myself ready, and we will launch back into it. Donnie, much love, brother. Much love. Spooky Andy, how you doing, man? Spooky, it's never the same when you're not here. It's always a bonus when you are. Hope you're doing good, bro. What I'm talking about. What awesome people you are. Just look at the chat room. You lot rock. You truly, truly do. There she is, our newest member in the KBS Crazy Zone, I mean Safe Zone. It's Jennifer. Welcome, Jennifer. You haven't missed anything. Just be sure to send some love to our brother Donnie. He's not feeling well right now. So that's all you've missed. We're getting ready to launch into some crazy news, story updates, UFO woo, you name it. We got it all going on here. Okay. With that said, let me entertain you. That's a song, right? But last night I was over with Bill Bean and the team over on Warrior Mode. We were talking about the Fall Guy. Now, I'm not here to try and convince you either way, but it really got me thinking overnight as well. Oh, okay, so that was the Fall Guy about to play. We don't need to play it. That's over on Bill Bean's channel, okay? Now, this is one of the more interesting type of narratives, conspiracies, whatever you want to call it. And I kind of view it as a kind of harmless one. You know, whatever way people decide, you know, it's not going to change the world. It's not something we should be falling out over, whether we think Paul's real or it's fall. But what I was thinking about was, and I'll throw this out here, I find it very interesting that we talk about the Beatles as possibly being a tool for social engineering and potentially the Tavistock being involved. Now, if we go along those lines, right, let's go back to that era, the 60s. 60s was a big change time, right? We had something go down in 1963 in Dealey Plaza that people are still talking about and not arguing about, but analysing today. Yes, JFK. Now, in the wake of that happening, there was a rise in people questioning what they were being told by governments and the official story. And we know in response to that, there was also a determined attempt to rubbish anything or anyone that dared to question the official narrative. Call it the war on conspiracy theorists, whatever you want to call it. I find it very, very interesting that all of this, the Fall Guy, Paul is dead stuff, was born out of a random telephone call into a radio station. And it was this random telephone call that questioned whether Paul was the real Paul or not. And that happened around 1967 or 1969. I believe it was, Bill told us. Now go with me here. You know, that's a very random thing to come up into the conversation until you put it against the backdrop of everything else that's going on at that time. And I wonder if, say, maybe the Tavistock decided to try and jump on the let's make conspiracy theorists look silly bandwagon. And perhaps they themselves were the ones that came up with the idea of putting out the Paul is dead story. Why? So that they could then, and the media could then, try and use that to make anyone questioning, oh, I don't know, maybe say something that went down in Dealey Plaza, make those people look a little bit crazy. I don't know. I don't know. I keep my mind open on it all. I think there's good evidence to suggest it's worth going down the rabbit hole of the whole Paul Fall guy. That's why I enjoy doing it. It's a show I've done multiple times and love doing it with Bill because he's very, very enthusiastic and passionate about the subjects that he's really deeply researched, and I love to see that. And we're used to hearing Bill talking about exorcisms and deliverances, and that. I mean, that's what Bill Bean is. That's why he's a spiritual warrior. But as his friend, I sometimes like to see him almost been cut loose into something like the Paul narrative, the Paul story. Again, I don't know. I just try and look at things from so many different angles, and I just think it might have been an attempt, an early attempt. Remember the Warren Commission? They put their findings out in 1964, and of course, most people questioned that. Most people were talking about magic bullets as opposed to just a lone crazy gun guy up in the book depository box, right? Or depository store, sorry. I don't know. We often hear it talked about in conspiracy circles, how there was and there still is an attempt to use that term, conspiracy theorist, as a pejorative, to make people look silly, to make us look a bit cuckoo, a bit mad. And hey, listen, I wear my cuckoo-ness and madness with pride. But that's why I just wonder, you know, with everything else that was going on at the time, if you could get people to claim that one of the Beatles had been replaced, then it probably wouldn't have been a stretch to imagine that the media could try and make those people look a little bit cuckoo. And that's not me having a go at us for talking about it last night. I'm just thinking aloud, and it was something I'd thought about overnight. And these social engineers, these groups that do shape society, that do steer where we're going culturally, they're so many steps ahead in the game it would make your eyes bleed. And that's why I have to wonder, just a random call into a radio station that got all of this going. And of course, that would explain why over the years, possibly a running joke, people talking to him and getting caught calling him Billy and things like that. You know, the book company, the MAGA Corps, or MACA Corps, sorry, or MACA org, whatever they're called, publishing the books about Paul being fake. Maybe if it's an elaborate type hoax type thing to make people look silly. Again, back in the day, I don't know. So yes, the book depository, that's it. Was it a depository or a repository? Again, maybe I just think about things. See, this is the problem with people like me. I think about things way too much. In the end of the day, it's an interesting story, and I should just leave it at that, right? I don't know. It just had me thinking. But listen, with that said, let's jump into our updates first, okay? We've got story updates, and I hope you were here last week for what I classed as probably the most useless invention ever. For anyone out there who might have missed it, did you know that the world has now got a contraption so that you fish owners out there, yes, fish owners, can take your fish for a walk? Hey, listen, I'm glad. Often have I walked down the street in Glasgow and there's been people crying, losing their crap, almost wailing in the streets like these SJWs because they feel hard done by, that they get outraged at people walking dogs, and people even walk cats nowadays, folks, with clothes on. It's crazy. It's a bit bizarre. But these fish owners, they've been feeling left out, and until they got this invented. Now, this isn't the update. This isn't like the story. I know we've done this. But I was thinking to myself, this is fine. This is fine here. This device is pretty cool if you want to take your fish for a walk. Unless you're this guy who just caught one of the most largest fish in the whole of the US. Take a look at that bad boy. Now that there, you ain't taking that for a walk. That fish takes you for a swim. I swear, if I tried to reel that in onto a boat, that fish would have won. That's all I'm saying. So, as smart as these people are, as smart as these people are with their weird devices, then I think this guy here kind of rules out taking your fish for a walk. Look, I found it a bit weird, a bit funny. So that was one update on one of our recent stories. And if you weren't here for the weird fish walking device, just go back a couple of streams. We've got you covered, all right? So next up, we're going to talk about a news story about the Titanic. We covered the Titanic on Freaky Friday very recently. Oh, absolutely awesome show. Had a good time with the guys for that one. But now we've got a mysterious Titanic message from a young passenger, and it leaves experts puzzled. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is fertile ground for the KBS crew. And that means me and all of you to go in there, swoop in, and solve this puzzle, right? Because we love it. We thrive when experts are puzzled. In fact, when experts are puzzled, they call KBS. So it says here a team of experts are trying to make sense of a mysterious letter that washed up on a beach in Canada. The message, believed to be from a young passenger on board the Titanic in 1912. So researchers at the University of Quebec at Rimouski say a family member in New Brunswick found a message in a bottle on Hopewell Rocks Beach in the Bay of Fundy back in 2017. Now, they then gave it to the university to examine it with a recent press release saying that a multidisciplinary team are currently working on finding answers. The letter is dated the 13th of April, 1912. Definitely unlucky for some. The day before the Titanic sunk, and it was signed by a 13-year-old girl called Mathilde Lefebvre. Lefebvre? Oh, she's called Matilda. Yes. Translated from French, it says, I'm throwing this bottle into the sea in the middle of the Atlantic. We are due to arrive in New York in a few days. If anyone finds it, tell the Lefebvre family in Louvain. So according to the university, the bottle was still sealed when it was found by a family in Dieppe, with Professor Maxime Gohier saying that the bottle could be the first Titanic artifact found on the American coast. But the story of its discovery and the enthusiasm it arouses is also an interesting subject of study. The discoverers were met by members of the team to document the location and circumstances of the find, as well as members of the actual family in question residing in Aix-en-Provence. Now, probably butchered the pronunciation of that. The university explains that young Matilda had been a third-class passenger on the famous ship with her mother, Marie Dumont, and 3 other siblings. Now, she was going to join her father, Frank, who left France in 1910 with 4 of their children to try his luck in America. And studies into the letter are still in progress. The university says it plans to call on other specialists to look into specific aspects in greater depths. Oof, probably a really unfortunate pun there when you're dealing with something to do with the sinking of the Titanic. I'm just saying. Either that is a very clever one of the two, right? And I suppose people are questioning, and be right to question. All this time later, over 100 years later, we're getting this washed up on a beach. Experts have examined the composition of the bottle, the cork, the paper, and the ink, also looking at the currents and the erosion process that would have led the bottle being run aground and buried. They concluded that the bottle and the letter inside were not compatible with the date, but still had some lingering question marks to resolve, such as why the writing differs from the style taught to school children at the time. Professor Manon Savard said, we can already confirm that materially the bottle and its contents are not compatible, or not incompatible, I got that wrong up here. Not incompatible. So it doesn't rule it out that this is real. My bad. We can already confirm materially the bottle contents are not incompatible with the date written on the letter. And Professor Daniel Brogault, or Borgault, said that the simulations of the sea currents also showed how a floating object could, despite a very low probability, have drifted from the point where the Titanic was on April 13, 1912, as far as the Bay of Fundy. It's almost like one of those magic passports. Too soon, probably. Anyhow, I find that rather intriguing, and I bet you, as kind of morbid as it is, I bet it's going to be worth a lot of money if it actually turns out to be genuine, right? I don't know. I just get that feeling. I get that's probably the kind of motive behind the rigorous testing of what we're looking at here. Hey, could it be from that fateful day before it went down? Why not? Especially if the bottle and the cork and everything else are looking right. It's going to be an interesting one. We will keep our eyes on that one. Let me see what I have next. Okay, this is the bit that a few of yous were hoping I wouldn't be getting to. And this all started a few years ago. People really started I don't know what started happening to people, okay? But there started to be these waves, we'll call it, of creepy clowns. Now, this is something that comes around from time to time. And I'm here to tell you that so far, this isn't, in my opinion, the start of a new wave. And there's a part of me wonders if even talking about it is a good idea, because that may lead to the start of a new wave. Now, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form I'm influential enough to create a wave of clown sightings around the world. But if enough shows like mine start talking about it, then people might start to think, I can get my 2 picoseconds of internet clown fame if I just go out dressed as one of those creepy things right now. And somebody has taken it upon themselves to go out dressed as those creepy things right now. Police in Annandale address concerns over a clown. That was a really bad clown horn, wasn't it? Yeah, even Anne wasn't buying that one. She's not buying it. So it says in Minneapolis, where was Nacy? Nacy? Are you terrorizing communities as a clown? So people in Annandale are addressing residents about their concerns that they're sharing about a clown in the area. Lock everything up, folks. There's a clown on the loose. People say that a number of residents have reported an individual dressed as a clown, and they are continuing to monitor the situation. Now it goes on to say, however, they say, without an actual complaint being lodged with the police, their ability to appropriately deal with the situation is affected. A legal basis of the terms alarm or annoyance would need to be justified. And this has been and will continue to be how we successfully collaborate with our citizens to keep the neighbourhood safe. Keeping them safe, I want SWAT teams out there. I want clowns taken out the minute they start sticking their head out of drains. I've seen how this rolls. Trust me. So authorities say that anyone who's concerned about the clown or any other public safety matter should not hesitate to reach out to the department directly. Why? It looks like you're not doing anything to combat the rise of creepy clown sightings. I'm not confident in this. I'm not confident, folks, that you've been protected over there from what could be a very sinister wave of clown sightings just around the corner. I don't know what possesses people to do this. Probably the fact that they get shits and giggles out of people like me talking about it. They probably love it when they see people cowering behind their keyboards, because in reality, you know, we're all talking about this on our keyboards, and the chances of a clown jumping out from behind the monitor, I'm happy to tell you, and I'm confident to tell you, probably pretty slim right now. That doesn't mean that they won't, okay? It doesn't mean that they won't. Maybe I should put that little clown. Where did I put it? Here we go. We could put this clown here. We flip that back to front. That's going to be really sinister looking, isn't it? We'll flip that horizontal and look. Oh, it's just peeking out. There we go. So we have our own clown now. Just so people are really a bit more concerned about my own mental health. Absolutely. So listen, that's the kind of story updates, and what we're going to go into next is some paranormal woo. I have got some Skinwalker, I've got some UFOs, and I've got a story that might just actually add to a hypothesis I've had about disclosure. So we've got all that to look forward to, but not before I go and get a little drink of coffee, chill out, get the lungs working again, and I'll get you some different music this time because I could see people do no, not that one again, not that again. So I'll be back in about 1 minute, folks. Don't go anywhere. Enjoy the upside down, or the as above, so below of Loch Ness. Jimmy Jeans, get back to doing your yard. Jimmy, back to the yard work. Come on, man. I have to crack that whip again. So Hertz von Renthal says the music was needed to push the culture agenda in the upcoming 60s. Revolution, as the story goes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I just wonder if they piggybacked on the back of that and thought, surely we can't get people to believe this, can we? And when they did, well, you know what they done to the old term conspiracy theorist, right? We're all mad. And anyway, we should really clear something up. I'll introduce myself. Hi, my name's Kev. Everybody, and it's my first time at Conspiracy Anonymous. Yeah, I used to be one of those people. Yeah, I used to be so far down the rabbit hole. I thought everything was at the bottom of the rabbit hole. But I know better now. At some point, the rabbit hole. I lost sight of the rabbit hole and I crawled up my own. And yeah, so yeah. I am a recovering conspiracy theorist. What can I say? What can I say, folks? Okay, so hey, listen. I'm halfway down the rabbit hole. I'm on like a bungee rope. It's like I can abseil down, take a look, but I want to be springing back up from there as well. I like to find that middle ground. I like to think, as hard as it is these days, that everything that I look at, it's just that. It's looking. It's merely the act or the art of observing. Can observing be an art? Well, you do this, obviously. You get what I'm feeling. You get what I'm saying, right? You get what I'm saying. So yes, indeed. With that said, let's move on, because I have been talking about the new season of Skinwalker Ranch. We're going full conspiracy. It's not conspiracy. It's a portal, ladies and gentlemen. It's a portal. And we've had season 2 of The Secrets of Skinwalker starting. I think it even impressed Anne. Well, not up there with her Oak Island, obviously. Nothing comes close to Anne's Oak Island, but she spared some time to give it a once over. I think she was impressed. I think. But if you haven't watched the show, I reckon if you're into the woo, it's definitely a good way to spend 40 minutes or so to unplug from everything else in the Matrix. And I've got an interview or a story that I found, and it comes from the guy who, as it says in the headline here, I bought a paranormal property. Now, Brandon Fugel is his name. He has made his money in tech, from what I'm led to believe. Billionaire. I think. I think he classes as a B as opposed to a M for millionaire. But this says here 5 years ago, this is by him, I entered a world wherein the concepts of interdimensional doorways, wormholes to distant worlds, and interstellar spaceports were a regular part of the conversation. Oh, if only every story started like that. What a wonderful or a wonderful world we would be in. 5 years ago, I entered a world wherein the concepts of interdimensional doorways, wormholes to distant worlds, and interstellar spaceports were a regular part of the conversation. You know, if he wasn't a billionaire like through tech, he could probably have written a book. He seems pretty cool with his old writing here. Even though I was skeptic, having never personally seen a UFO, a ghostly apparition, a luminous orb, or any other paranormal event of these kinds. As a real estate investor, okay then, so it probably hasn't anything to do with tech. I was naturally intrigued by the opportunities to purchase and to personally explore a piece of what was referred to by some as interdimensional real estate. Wonder what that does for the price of a property. Does it like take the price down if like you tell people that there's like a doorway between this world and the next, and ooga boogas and goblins and goblins and I don't know, just gargoyles and gremlins. I'm trying to think of all things G right now. Demons, and that doesn't begin with G, I know, but you get where I'm going, right? Does it take the price down? Or is there people like me out there, if I had money, that would probably put money on the property. I'd probably be willing to pay more for the promise of such activity, right? Says he who lost all his crap when he went to Boleskine. See, it's great sitting here talking about it behind the keyboard, folks, but oof, I tell you, when you go toe to toe with those ooga boogas out there, that's a different kettle of fish altogether. Okay, and it's not even a fish like that. You feel me? So it says the journey that led to my purchase of a paranormal hotspot. Let me catch up. Well, Buzzicino says, so you are willing to take a leap of faith as long as you can wear a safety line. Absolutely. Absolutely, Buzz. Absolutely. As paradoxical and anomalous as that sounds, yes. So the journey that led to my purchase of a paranormal hotspot, one that has garnered significant attention and been studied by governments and private groups of scientists and researchers alike, began over a decade ago, and I established relationships of trust with scientists involved in the domain of speculative physics. Now that sounds like an even wackier branch of physics than theoretical physics. Speculative physics. I would imagine when I was covering CERN and when I was talking about AI, you could definitely say I fell into the genre of speculative physics. And I wear it with pride, by the way. I wear it with pride. That's no mark on my character. Maybe. Little did I know at the time that these individuals were science advisors to the elusive aerospace billionaire Robert Bigelow, or that these individuals would subsequently extend an invitation to engage in discussions regarding the mysterious 512. Come on, all you gematrists out there, tell me what that means. 512-acre property in northeastern Utah known as Skinwalker Ranch. I remember my nervous curiosity as I flew into Las Vegas to meet personally with Mr. Bigelow, to tour his impressive facility, and to discuss the acquisition of the infamous property. As I was escorted by security personnel into the large compound, the Bigelow Aerospace facility conjured to mind a James Bond villain lair, complete with full-scale models of space stations and highly secure laboratories. Impressive doesn't quite convey what I saw. After visiting with Mr. Bigelow and his team of scientists, I became more intensely curious than ever. So it says, I still believed that there was likely to be a perfectly natural, prosaic explanation for what had been claimed for decades, including UFO sightings, daylight cattle experimentations, orbs, and the unexplained, sometimes troubling phenomena. but the prospect that this mysterious ranch could potentially serve as a living laboratory, one which I might study and personally contribute to the rigorous documentation of such claims, captured my interest on a very profound and personal level. Mr. Bigelow had purchased the property years prior in 1996, following news reports alleging that the family who had owned the land had been terrorized and were being menaced by paranormal phenomena on the ranch. There were claims that prized cattle were being dissected with surgical precision and drained of their bodily fluids, and that the family, like others in the area, were witness to bizarre things on the ground and in the skies above. After flying in to inspect the property and to strike a deal with the family to acquire this apparent epicenter of so many strange events, Bigelow had installed his own team of scientists to study the claims of phenomenology by any and all means at his disposal. There's another great word. Phenomenology. Phenomenology. By 2008, Skinwalker Ranch had caught the attention of former Senator Harry Reid. Now, there's an interesting guy, right? I would imagine he's probably had a little glimpse at some of the documents that we would like to see. Or did he? Or did he? And officials from the US Defense Department. They visited the ranch, and afterwards Bigelow became part of a classified program to investigate the possibility of such phenomena, which we all know now as the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or as I like to call it, just the tip, ladies and gentlemen, just the A-tip, right? Not even just the tip, A-tip. My own first visit to Skinwalker site. I need to get serious because, like, a serious place. You don't go into Skinwalker laughing and joking, ladies and gentlemen. If you do, oh, it's going to bite back. It really is. So my own first visit to the Skinwalker site took place just days before closing on purchase. I arrived via helicopter, as billionaires do, to inspect the ground for myself. As we hovered over the property, and let me just add that, there's something I want to add in here. You wouldn't catch me hovering over Skinwalker in a damn helicopter, and I nearly myself there when I seen that clown. I forgot I'd put the clown there. Note to self, there's a creepy clown on the side of your screen. And there's a clown on the side. Oh, what did it say? So, listen. Would you be flying over a property where they say that there's electromagnetic anomalies, compasses go mad, there's phones start going haywire, in a helicopter flying about when there's a magnetic woo? And not me. Not me, ladies and gentlemen. I'll go many's a place for woo, but above the Skinwalker, probably not. Buzz, maybe if I had one of those safety ropes on though, right? I arrived via the helicopter, and as we hovered over the property, balls of steel, ladies and gentlemen, I was struck by the diversity of the landscape. I would have been struck by the smell of me khaki in my pants. I was struck by the diversity of the landscape and natural beauty on display, including a brilliant multicoloured mesa plateau, with my trousers that were multicoloured at that point, with caves, abandoned homesteads, meandering waterways, and what appeared to be several guarded towers surrounded by a high fence with razor wire. Not to mention the Skinwalker that was looking like a dire wolf trying to get the helicopter. I think he wanted to put that in, but not just yet. Look at him. Look how cool that is. That needs the caption, I want to believe. Doesn't it? That's a real life Mulder. That's what he looks like. And for anyone who doesn't know, that is Brandon Fugel, billionaire. And Brandon, I obviously I'm just like saying these things for a bit of shtick. Don't take me to court for like maybe making you sound a bit wacky, a bit wackadoodle. I think you're a good guy. In fact, I'm encouraged that you've got this place. But more on that as we go on. So it says, upon touching down in the field outside of the main ranch house, we were greeted by Mr. Bigelow's armed security and soberly escorted on a tour of the entire property. Among the more curious and memorable sights during that first visit were what appeared to be animal remains deliberately hung on the fence perimeter, bordering with the surrounding Native American land. We then discussed the history of the property, including the claim that a curse of some kind had been pronounced on the land as a result of conflict between, I think it was the Navajo and the Ute tribes. The legend suggests the property is placed squarely in the path of the skinwalker. In the Navajo culture, a skinwalker is a shape-shifting demonic witch or other entity. Well, once you're a shapeshifter, does it matter whether you're a witch or a wolf or a warlock? Because you're a shapeshifter, right? You can be anything you want to be. You're woke. At that point, once you become a shapeshifter, you're a woke cryptid. You feel like a werewolf, you can be a werewolf. You get me? You see where I'm going with that? Pretty cool. Such were the stories connected to the property of which I would become the principal steward. The first 6 months of my ownership of the ranch were relatively uneventful, with the exception of my newly installed security personnel capturing photographic and video records of unusual objects that were unable to identify hovering over the land in broad daylight. I remained sceptical, naturally, as to their nature, but also curious and cautiously open-minded. That's the position to be, folks. Curious and cautiously open-minded. I say cautiously open-minded because when you go in there all blasé and not giving a crap open-minded, that's when you've got the potential for your noggin. Remember what I say, it's okay looking for the woo, but not to the point where the brain turns to black goo. Maybe it's black goo that's underneath Skinwalker. Have we ever explored that? Even to the pragmatist, it appeared that something quite unusual may indeed be happening on this property. Now, I think that, yeah, Post Malone. Now, my boy, he likes this Post Malone character. Listen, I have got no idea what Post Malone does. I don't know if he's an actor, a singer, or what he is, but I know he likes his woo. He's also been to that, is it the Museum of the Bizarre and the Wacky and the Woo that Zach Bagans has got, and from Ghost Adventures. He likes his woo, this guy. He really does. So, and then, one day in autumn 2016, my outlook on the ranch and the narratives bound to it completely changed. I observed with my own eyes what I believed to be a flying saucer in broad daylight just above the mesa as I travelled eastward, returning along the dirt road from the western extreme of the property with multiple witnesses at my side. From that point forward, installing an appropriately instrumented observational scientific surveillance program became the top priority in my stewardship. You see, on the face of it, I love the fact this guy's got this place, because if we believe everything he says, he wants to get to the bottom of what's going on, very much on a par with, say, Oak Island. They just want to get to the bottom, pardon the pun, of what went on there, be it the money pit, be it anything else. Now, that said, we have to be very cautious as well, because I think this program and some of the information that we are going to see, and I've already seen in it, it might just tie in with all of the, dare we call it, disclosure that's going on right now. And as we go on just a little bit in the stories I've got for today, like I mentioned earlier, there's a story that's come out now that's really got my spidey senses up. But more of that in a moment. People often ask me, are you a believer? Are you a believer? My honest answer is no. I'm an experiencer. I don't believe per se, but I believe what I saw, and I'm convinced that we continue to witness unusual activity that I cannot personally explain. Others are interested too. The award-winning rapper, singer, and producer, now I know what he does, Post Malone, great name, visited Skinwalker Ranch in February 2021, and I gave him a tour of the property. There you go, as we've seen there. Now, we have yet to determine the nature, the origin, and agenda, if any, of the phenomenology attached to this so-called paranormal site, and the validity of UFOs and paranormal activity in general remains to be proven real. But my team and I are convinced that we are encountering activity at Skinwalker Ranch that is unusual and not easily explained. And that there, I can't. That's a brilliant way of putting it. It's unusual and it's not easily explained. I think that's the best way to describe everything we've seen so far in that show. I'm not going to give any spoilers for the show. I'd love it if you watched it. If you don't, all good in the hood. You know me, I'll be back here. Irregardless, we'll move on. My perception of the world and universe has been forever changed by my experiences, and that's it, folks. You think about how you might, in general, I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but in general, you might have gone your whole life being totally against all talk of paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, absolute nonsense, madness type stuff, right? You turn the other way when you hear people like me talking about it. But that one event, that one experience, whatever it is, albeit probably most likely unexplainable, you'll never know what happened. That can be enough to change your perception, to change how you look at these things. Because if it can happen to you, then perhaps a lot of these experiences that we hear about from other people just happen to be true as well. And if that's the case, at that point, you stand on the cusp of the weird and the wonderful world of woo. I think that's probably about the best place to be right now. So it says here, my perception of the world and universe has been forever changed by my experiences. Now I believe the adventure of owning this paranormal property is just at the beginning. As it says, Brandon Fugel is the chairman of Colliers International in Utah, former EY Entrepreneur of the Year, serves on the Governor's Economic Council, has co-founded several tech companies. Yay! Well, I wasn't wrong then. And is co-executive producer of the hit series Skinwalker Ranch. So, a little drink of coffee, and then we'll be back, and we're going to dive deeper down into the UFO rabbit hole. And we'll be taking a look at something weird. Another new strange twist in the, dare we call it, disclosure, or whatever the heck is going on right now. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. Okay. So I think we may just keep streaming here. I might take the night off TFR tonight. No guest tonight, so that'd be like if I gone straight onto TFR. Well, I'm not sure. We'll see. Maybe we will. I can play some videos, break it up with some woos, some stories along the way. Dang it, we will. You know we will. I can't get enough of it, right? Can't get enough of it. Now, if you want to support the stream, but you don't have to, there's a link in the description. It would be much appreciated right now. But like I say, not necessary. So with that embarrassing statement out of the way, let's get over to this. Department of Defense Inspector General to evaluate the Pentagon's handling of UFOs. So this came out on the 4th of May. Big shout out to our friends over at Coast to Coast. Yes, Bill, a regular guest on Coast to Coast. Travis has been on Coast to Coast 3 times as well. Just me and Derek to go, right? I'll be on there as the monster man. Don't you worry, folks. I'll get my turn. I don't want to be the monster man. But it says, in an intriguing turn of events, or in the latest episode of Dare We Call It Disclosure, the Inspector General for the Department of Defense has announced plans to conduct an evaluation of how the Pentagon has responded to the UFO phenomenon. The forthcoming endeavour was revealed in a memo issued by the Oversight Office on Monday and quickly caught the attention of UFO enthusiasts when the word of the decision spread throughout the community on Tuesday morning. Now, the letter is... No, I don't have the letter there. I can open it here, though. There we go. There's the actual letter, okay? But we'll read on in this first. It says, the announcement from the IG, or is it the Investigator General? Inspector General, sorry, somewhat vaguely states that they intend to, quote, determine the extent on which the DoD has taken actions regarding UAPs. Now, the memo goes on to say that we may revise the objective as the evaluation proceeds, and we will consider suggestions from management of additional or revised objectives. Now, additionally, it indicates that we will perform the evaluation at the offices of the Secretary of Defense, Military Services, Combatant Commands, Combat Support Agencies, Defense Agencies, and the Military Criminal Investigation Organizations. Now, receiving the memo were a myriad of high-ranking DoD personnel, including the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as well as directors of both the Defense Intelligence Agency, that's the one hardly anyone talks about, right? And the National Security Agency. Another one is it the Geospatial? They're another one to look into. As is so often the case when it comes to the UFO phenomenon and the United States government, this latest development brings with it far more questions than answers. Isn't this always the case? Including what exactly prompted the decision to launch an evaluation in the first place, as well as what, if anything, might come of it. You know, possibly the fact that the Pentagon are coming out and confirming that Jeremy Corbell has likely released a video that has a fake UFO in it. You know, the fact that there might be leaks to reporters on the outside might be why, again, just my opinion, might be why there's been almost like this internal review. Military, especially high-ranking top brass, like things like the Pentagon and the Ministry of Defense over here, do not like leaks, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't know, or is it just more theatre as we build up towards the report that we're meant to be getting with all the declassified stuff? I don't know. So while the IG's inquiry into the matter is seemingly separate from the forthcoming Pentagon report on UFOs, which is due to be released next month, there is... 2 seconds. Sorry. There is some speculation that it may have been initiated due to the lack of transparency among different departments within the DoD when it comes to producing information for that investigation, or perhaps for members of Congress looking into the phenomenon. Nevertheless, the decision by the DoD Inspector General to evaluate how the Pentagon has handled unidentified aerial phenomena has been met with considerable enthusiasm by UFO disclosure advocates, since the office has both significant investigatory powers as well as the funds to carry out such endeavours. So, I don't know, folks, what this is all about. But one thing I've said, and I think I mentioned it when we were talking with Nano Girl last week, was, why do we think this is all going on? And I'll tell you right now, right up front, I don't know why it's all going on. But part of me has been looking at the angle of, are we slowly being given information that is going to lead us to the either revealing of, or us starting to work on some kind of new propulsion system? Maybe something we've had for a long time. Maybe something we retrieved from craft that have already come down here, be it Roswell, maybe be it some other crash site we don't know about. Could be back-engineered technology from World War II. We know a lot of the scientists made it over to the US, and a lot made it to Russia as well. You know, the Bell, that kind of technology, anti-gravitics. Are we slowly being brought up to speed where they can introduce this type of technology without us really, you know, raising too much of an eye or an eyebrow? Because you don't raise an eye, do you? But anyway, I found this story really, really, really interesting. It's not long at all. Check this out. Um, MIT researchers say that UFO research could lead to new laws of physics. The US military has started to take reports of unidentified aerial objects more seriously in recent years, even setting up a task force to investigate strange sightings by its personnel. Now, many of the reports include mysterious objects spotted by Navy pilots, traveling through the sky at astonishing speeds and seemingly defying the laws of physics. Now, that's why, according to Rizwan Virk, an MIT graduate and founder of Incubator Play Labs at MIT, it would be a huge mistake to not take these reports seriously going forward. And in a recent open or opinion piece for NBC News, Virk argues the profound lack of curiosity in UFOs resulted in a mess of taboos and biases among the ranks of academia. To Virk, studying UFOs could potentially redefine all of science and lead to a new understanding of our place in the universe, and new advances in material science, biology, quantum physics, cosmology, and social sciences. Is Virk's a consensus view? Absolutely not. But his embrace of the concept does show that it's a line of inquiry that's making inroads into traditionally buttoned up institutions, including MIT. Now, rather than convincing people that UFOs do in fact exist, Virk is hoping to encourage academics and industry leaders to move beyond their biases into an open minded investigation to figure out who or what created them and how they work. Now, the rewards for those continuing the research into UFOs could pay off big in Virk's analysis, and it says in the long term there could be multiple Nobel Prizes, not to mention new laws of physics, for those who are willing to dive in and risk ridicule in the short term. And that ridicule is pretty much now in the process of being removed anyway, right? Because it's a mainstream topic now. It's no longer the stuff of X-File music or you know, people wearing tinfoil hats. This is like mainstream. This is what people are talking about in serious tongues, right? All of a sudden, since 2017, for whatever reason, it all changed. And one thing I am keeping my eye on is whether it's just an attempt to bring the public up to speed with some of the stuff that they're about to roll out around the corner. Because, like I've said once, and I'll say it again, we are moving into the space age, ladies and gentlemen. And we're moving into it whether we like it or not. I just hope we can keep up with everything they've got in store along the way. I'll be back in a moment. Queen. It's great to see you here. It's crap to see you go. But we will miss you and we'll see you next time when you come back, Queenie. Good for you to be here. Good to see you again. Good to see all of you. Now, a couple of quick stories before we go and shift gear. And I suppose I really should go live on the main show today. Nothing planned, but I've got a couple of stories here that I can get to, which we could kick off proceedings with. But I've got a couple of headlines here we can take a look at. In fact, one in particular, because one's really, really weird, right? We often talk about, excuse me, give me a second, Trips, give me a second here. There we go. So one last quick one before we go away today, and this is like headlines out of the crazy bizarro land world that we live in. But this we go over to this headline right here. Depok villagers do a really, really crazy thing to a baby Ngepet, a shape-shifting boar demon accused of stealing money. Now, there's a story you don't hear every day, right? A shape-shifting boar demon was beheaded in Depok, West Java, after it stole money and other valuables over the past month. And yes, you might be thinking, did I just hear that correctly? Yes, you did. At least that's what the residents of Badahan village in the Sawangan sub-district believe. But their story about a baby Ngepet or Ngepet terrorizing their village has become national news in a country with deep supernatural traditions as Indonesia. In Indonesian lore, a bape or a babi in Ngepet is a person who uses black magic infused cloak to transform into a wild boar. This is wild stuff, right? I told you it was a wild one. In boar form, they would sneak into people's homes and rub their bodies on the walls and furniture, which would magically draw the household's money and valuables. When the babi in Ngepet shifts back into human form, the stolen fortune is contained in the cloak. What a trick. The villagers of Badahan were certain that only a babi in Ngepet could have been responsible for their money going missing over the past month. On Monday, 12 men from the village went butt naked. 12 men of the village went butt naked because they believed that's the only way that they could see the demon with their own eyes for some reason, and found the babi Ngepet, which they captured and caged. So while the villagers initially wanted their fortune back, they said they saw the beast gradually shrinking. So they decided to do away with it before it could vanish. In a video that's gone viral and that we won't be watching today, a respected figure at the village is seen calling on the babi and Ngepet's family to come forward before the villagers execute it. Nobody came forward, so the villagers done a really bad thing to the boar yesterday and buried the body parts separately so they don't somehow magically fuse back together. Nobody has come forward to report any of their family members missing, presumably from the tragic Babi and Ngepet adventures either. Now, we hope We don't have to tell you that this story was entirely based on the claims of the villagers and that nobody besides them actually saw the so-called Babby in Geppet. Nevertheless, the local police did get involved and said that the boar that they saw was just a regular old swine. We were worried that the whole thing might attract crowds, so we dispersed them. There's all that bad stuff still going on over there. Yet the people still broke nationwide, or the news, or the story still broke nationwide to the point that the Indonesian Institute of Science had come forward to say that there's no such thing as a Babby in Geppet. It's possible that the Babby in Geppet was made a scapegoat, or a scapegoat, as it were, by the villagers who had been hit hard economically. If that were the case, who are we to deny this temporary distraction from the circumstances? Well, I dare say the boar might have something to say about it. You know? I'm just saying. So on that note, folks, I'm going to take my leave today. It's been a blast. It's been fun. It's been some updates and stories. There's been some woo and really weirdness at the end there. But again, before I leave, let me take this opportunity to send some love and energy and prayers out to Donnie, our friend from down under, our Uncle Donnie, the KBS elder, one of the KBS elders. So Donnie, from me and everyone here, I would imagine, I don't like speaking for everyone in the chat, but I think I can safely say we're all wishing you a very speedy recovery, brother. And we need you back soon, okay? But just you be sure to get well first. So with that said, folks, I am out of here. Remember, keep your minds open and all that good stuff,
Keep
right?
your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo.
And remember, if you would like to support the stream, the links are in the description. I'll be back tomorrow on YouTube. I should be back on TFR in about 15 minutes. We'll see how it goes. Until next time, whenever it is, wherever you are, wherever I am.
Keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo.
Oh, Bet, just press rewind, Bet. Press rewind. Yes, we're only a rewind button away. Good to see you, Bet. Good to see everyone. Thank you all for being here. You lot rock.